Hello, I'm going to make a video of all the books I read in 2025 and give a little synopsis of it. So here we go. For this year, I read 20 books. Yay! That was my goal. And so I got it. I got 20 books. I actually might finish 21. I'm about to finish one, and New Year's Eve is tomorrow. Maybe not. We'll see. I look a mess. I'm extremely jet lagged and just tired. But my hair is red now. It's very red. I like it though. It's fun little moment. So this is the first book I read of the year. This book was my #1 book of the year. Normal People by Sally Rooney changed my life. Well, not actually, but I just think about this book all the time. I don't typically like books with a lot of like sexual content. I don't recommend reading this book unless you're over like 18. Because I actually tried to read this book when I was in high school and I had to stop because I was like, this is a little too much for me. And I'm glad I did that because I feel like I read it at the perfect time in my life. It's like very about two real people who just don't know how to communicate. It shows you how much like even having sex with someone when you're young does connect you and have like this soul tie, and you can't like leave this person. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but yeah. So that's a 5 out of 5 book, 10 out of 10. But I do not recommend reading unless you're like mature because it does have a lot of like explicit content. The next book I read in 2025, funny story by Emily Henry. Emily Henry, I know some people are like obsessed with her. I just think I was feeling like this. I think I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. It was good. Like I was entertained for sure, but like it wasn't nothing that like spoke to me that I feel like I walked away feeling like, oh, this changed my life, you know? Emily Henry is good if you need like an easy read, but honestly, like unserious. Like it's a good, fun, unserious book. I'll say that. It was good. Next book that I read, guys, The Housemaid. This was a great book. I don't typically read like mysteries or thrillers, but this was like one of my first ones. I think my only one I read this year. And I really liked it. It was a page turner. Like I was like I read this book so fast because I was so intrigued to see what would happen. And yeah, I was right. It was really good. I liked it. Highly recommend. I think I gave it maybe like 4 stars. I don't know, but it's good. If you want a good mystery, like an easy read, I recommend this one. Next book, The Friend Zone by Amy Jimenez. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I know that she has a lot of other like romance books that are very popular. So I saw this book and I was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. Honestly, I think this was my least favorite book of the year. Sorry. I also think I'm realizing I'm kind of growing out of like the romance genre a little bit, where it's like very predictable. I do love a romance, but I like a romance that's very real. Sometimes with these type of books, I just know what's gonna happen, and that was kind of what it was with this, where it's like right off the bat they meet and I'm like, okay, they're gonna fall in love and it's gonna be like they're gonna end up together. And sometimes I like to be thrown off a little bit. Honestly, I don't remember much about this book. Like it was kind of one of those books where I like read, but like I literally had to go back and read the summary so I could remember what it was about, because it really did not stick out to me. So yeah. Next book was also like one of my favorites of the year, Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. Also, I do say Sally Rooney is for mature audiences, okay? If you can't, like, I think you need to like be mature to read these books. This book was so beautiful. Like the way that she writes about relationships and how people, like dynamics between people is so good. Basically about these 2 friends, like long distance friends, and they both have their own love interests, but it's kind of like both love stories they're written about, but and then it's like their friendship is still kind of like the center of it. But like I really love this book. Like I read it so quickly because it was just like, I don't know, the way her dialogue between like these characters, like I'm so like, oh, like it seems so real. And that's like the type of books that I love, that are just like, this feels like I'm looking into someone's real life. I hate when I'm like reading a book and I'm like, this is like a fake person that I'm reading about. Like these are real people. So yeah, I think this was a 5 star for me. My next book, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, more of a classic route. Sylvia Plath is more of a poet, I think, than like a novelist because I think she has so many good lines. Like in this book, there's so many good like lines, but I think as a story as a whole, it was not the best because it's about basically a girl who is just like pretty normal, and then she's just kind of struggling with like being a woman in that like day and age. It was written in the 60s, and basically she goes and has a like mental break and is just struggling with a lot of mental health issues. If you guys know about the fig tree analogy, that is fire, and that is something I think about a lot. I'm giving you the order in which I read all these books. I read The Friend Zone. I hit a lull. The Friend Zone really took me out, and then I started to read again. The Sally Rooney book got me back into it. The Friend Zone really took me out, and I didn't read for like 2-3 months. The next book, this is when I started to get on my audiobook grind. I listened to I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This was good, but I don't feel like it changed my life, you know? Like, it was definitely like an eye-opening book because it's basically about a woman who is like kind of in like a apocalyptic kind of vibe where she's like in a prison with only women, and then I don't want to spoil, well, it's not really a spoiler, but then she's able to break out of this prison and be in the world, but there's like nothing going on. So she, her whole life, like never has like met a man, like seriously. Like she saw them in the prison because they were like the guards. She never interacted with them. She was stripped from everything her whole life. And it was very interesting because it's like, what would happen if we were like stripped of literally everything besides, I guess, just female friendship? Like that was the only thing she had. It was just kind of like depressing, you know? It was kind of just like, dang. It just shows like what you can make with little, I guess. But she still really did not have much. And the whole book is just like her not having much. So in that sense, I don't think I rated it very high. It was interesting, but not groundbreaking, we'll say that. The next book I read was In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I really like this book, actually. It's just basically about this girl who wakes up and she's 5 years in the future, but she's with a different man than who she's with now. And it's just very like, she's like, what? So confused. And it was a really good perspective book because it makes you realize like what is in the future is like so out of our control, and we have to just live life, and we can't try to like focus so much on what's going to happen. It's like you just got to live your life and see what happens. I read this right after I finished college, and so I was very much in a state of like, what am I going to do with my life? What's going to happen? What's the future look like? And this book really is like was a good like, you can't control it. Just like live your life. Just whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. So just live your life. Okay, the next book I read this year, well, I listened on audiobook to My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I don't really know how to say her last name. This was a very interesting book, I will say. Like, this was one of those books I finished and was like, oh, I didn't like it. It's basically about this girl who spends like a whole year in hibernation, and she just sleeps for like literally a year. While she is awake, it's like these little snippets of like what she's going through. And I finished it and I was pissed off and I was like, this was a stupid book. But then time has passed since I've read this, and I will catch myself thinking about it sometimes. And so when that happens, I'm like, okay, it couldn't have been that bad of a book. Like, it made me think. Like, I do love a book that makes me think. It was one of those books that was just very weird and very odd, but I just love a weird and odd book. It makes you leave being like, what was that about? But then you think about it more and you're like, wait, I kind of see the vision. It's one of those books that I'm not really sure, even to this day, how I feel about it. I feel like I have no idea if I loved it or hated it. I think I gave it like a 2 stars right after I read it on Goodreads, but now I'm like, maybe it's more like 3.5. I'm not sure. So yeah, this is a horrible picture, but this is the next book I read is The Prisoner in the Third Cell by Jean Edwards. This was a like Christian, it's not fiction because it's not fiction. It's like takes a lot of creative liberties to tell the story of John the Baptist. It's kind of similar to like, I would say like The Chosen, how like The Chosen is about a Bible story, but it kind of takes a little creative liberties to like say what they think could have happened. It was a very short book. It was like it was under 100 pages. So it was a very like quick read. It was really good. I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I think sometimes as Christians, we kind of look over some of these characters that are not like Jesus, Paul, Peter, and like all these people. And at least for me, I don't know how other people feel. So kind of gave him more of a story that I feel like we don't get to see a lot in the Bible. I enjoyed it. I really like this book a lot. Okay, my next book is The Summer of Broken Rules by Cale Walther. This is like a young adult type of book, like romance, and I think I'm just growing out of these type of books. I used to love these books a lot more when I was younger, but I think this year is the year I realized no longer like these books. I just think they're overdone, and I think I read so many of them when I was younger that now I'm like able to predict them so easily, and I hate that. She was like at this like lake house for her sister's wedding. And then they played a game of it was very young adult, and I'm 23 and I'm just over it. So this was not, I mean, it was like I was entertained, like I read the book, but I'm also like too old to be reading that. So we'll take it as it is. This is probably great for someone who's like 16, okay? But not for me. I'm sorry. The next book I read was Bright Young Woman by Jessica Knoll. I started this book and I was hooked. Like I was like locked because it's about this girl who is like, she's going back and forth in time. She was in a sorority house when she was in college, and she basically wakes up in the middle of the night and there are multiple girls who are basically murdered, including her best friend. And so she is obviously very traumatized and she's like trying to get to the bottom of this. And I'm pretty sure that this is actually like kind of like a retelling from Ted Bundy. Like it's kind of like a twist of hearing like the girl's perspective and the people who are affected by it. And so in that case, I think it's very creative because it's way more focused on the girls than like the murderer. Like a lot of time in these like murder stories, the murderer is the focus, which is like crazy considering like they did the bad thing. Like, why are we putting all the attention on them? It's fiction, so it's like it's kind of like a lot of creative liberties. It was a very well written book and it was very good. I just think I am not really big on investigation and crime things, and so I feel like I was a little bored, but that had nothing to do with like the book itself. That had to do with like my own interests and like what I'm interested in, because like at the beginning of the book I was very interested in like the drama, which is maybe telling about me, I don't know, but like I'm that way with a lot of things. Like when it comes to even shows I've watched that have like investigation and like lawyers and all this stuff, I'm like, don't care. It's not my interest, and that's okay. The next book I read was Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. It was very normal people coded, which is why I think I liked it, because it's basically about two messy, broken people who just can't figure it out. And I don't know what it is about that. I just love that trope, maybe. I don't know. It's real and it makes you really feel, you know? You're like, wow, these are just two people who need to like figure it out. It's from both of their perspectives. So it's about this young, beautiful girl who's like 24, and then she ends up marrying a man much older than her. I think he's like in his 40s. And she needs a green card because she's from England. And it's kind of a little bit rushed, but they still very much love each other. And it kind of just shows the tension because they both have a lot of problems. Like Frank, the man, he drinks too much, and then Cleo, the woman, is like depressed and has a lot of like mental health issues. I don't know, I was very entertained. I really like this book. Love is so messy, and I just love that. I don't know what it is, guys. I just love these types of books. Also, I would say for mature audiences, because there are definitely some parts that I was like, whoa, they're a little like inappropriate, so you have to be mature to be reading these things. I don't want to lead anyone astray by telling you to read these books, okay? Because I'm a Christian woman and I don't believe that I should be doing that. So don't read books that are inappropriate. Have your own convictions about it. Next book, I actually did audiobook this. This is The Wedding People by Alison S. Potch. I listened to this, and I think because I listened to it, I was not fully locked. Like, I feel like maybe if I read it, I'd like it more. I just feel like this book was like, this would never happen. And like I said, I like a realistic story. Basically about this woman, she goes to this hotel to kill herself because she's just struggling. She's had a failed marriage, and she ends up meeting this wedding party like while she's at this nice hotel, and she befriends them and then finds her will to live. Not to spoil if you haven't read it, but I was just like, this would never happen. I guess there are some very like beautiful parts in it, but I was just like, this is just an unrealistic story. But it got a lot of hype. Like, I saw a lot of hype about it online. I also just feel like it didn't make that much sense to me, so sorry. This book I also audiobooked, My Friends by Frederick Bachman. Wow, this book was really good. About basically this girl who is like really struggling. Like, she's grown up in foster care her whole life, and she's had like one good friend her whole life who gave her this postcard of this art, this painting, and she basically has kept on to it her whole life. And then she actually meets the artist who made this painting, and he ends up dying because he's sick. But then that brings her to meet the artist's best friend, and they had this like beautiful friend group going up, and it basically is just them kind of going on this, so the girl and the artist's best friend go on this journey together. They just kind of are learning more about each other, and then learning more about the friend group and the friendships that they had as a kid, the artist and the best friend and these other two people who really were impactful to their life. It was very good. It was very long though, I will say that. One thing I will say, because for me, I'm a very positive person, right? And so I always try to like look for the good in even the worst case scenarios, because I think there's always good in every situation. These characters were so just like, poor me. And so sometimes that was a little like, I know you're going through a lot. Like, I'm not trying to dismiss that, but like the whole time they were just like, I'm just stupid and dumb and no one likes me. And that was like frustrating, because I was like, no, have some confidence. Like, I know you've gone through a lot, but you are like, have a better mindset, you know? Like, I did cry at the end of this. This was a great book. Like, it was really, really, really good. So yeah, but it is a long one. You really got to get through it, you know? You gotta be patient with it, but because it's long, I feel like it really develops the characters really well. So next book I read was a book that kind of got me into like more nonfiction vibes, because I've never been much of a nonfiction reader, but the last half of these books are pretty much all nonfiction, and I think this was kind of the start of it. So this is by Kurt Vonnegut. He is a very famous author, and this is called A Man Without a Country. And it's basically just, I think this was the last book that he wrote, and it's basically just all his thoughts on life, like politics, religion, and love, relationships, everything. Like, he just is like, here it is. It's actually quite funny. Like, there's a lot of things that are just like funny about it. And I don't even agree with like everything he says necessarily, because like I said, I'm a strong Christian woman. So some of the stuff he says about God, I'm like not fully agreeing with, but it was interesting to me some of the points he made. I like to read books that are not fully stuff I agree with, because it makes me like kind of see what other people see and like how they view God. So that's why it was interesting. And I also think a lot of his political takes were very interesting, because this book was written in like 2004, I think. So like post 9/11, a lot was going on. It's a lot about United States of America. And reading it now, 2025, when there's also a lot of like crazy things going on in the US, it just really like was crazy to me how I'm like, wow, nothing has changed. So in that sense, it really was eye-opening to me. And so I liked it. I thought it was good. It was a good intro to my nonfiction journey that I had at the end of the year. The next book I read is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just murdering these authors' names, but this was an incredible book. I think this was one of my favorite books of the year, because I think about this a lot. I mean, I studied psychology in college, and so this is very interesting to me. Basically, it's like written by a therapist, and she's basically writing about different things that she has experienced while like giving therapy to other people. So it's like different stories. But then it's also about her going to therapy herself and like uncovering some issues that she even has. And I'm like, it really opened my eyes because I feel like sometimes therapy is looked at as like this, you have to have like something wrong with you or something like so super traumatizing you're going through to like go to therapy, where like sometimes, yeah, that is the case. But sometimes it's like you just need to go to therapy just to like get something off your chest. Like, and so I think this really was a great book, and I think about this a lot, honestly, this book, and how important it is to go to therapy if you need it. And it shouldn't be this like taboo that I feel like it is sometimes. So yeah, this was like a 5-star book for me, honestly. This is a classic. Everyone's, you know, telling me I need to read this. Ooh, Catcher in the Rye, come on, a classic. Everybody, you probably read it in high school. I didn't for some reason, so I was like, I want to read it, so I did. And it was good. I mean, I feel like when there's a classic, there's always this expectation that it's gonna like change your life. It did not change my life. I understand why you read it in high school, because it's like such a good book. Like, I was thinking about my little brother because he's 16, and I was like, oh, he should read this book because it literally puts you inside of the mind of like, I think he's 16, 15, 16. He's a teenage boy. He puts you in the mind of a teenage boy's brain and how they think, and kind of just like, it really is like I am this teenage boy reading, like, as I'm reading this. Though the end, oh my gosh. There's this quote that I like highlighted in my Kindle, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna screw it up, but it basically says, phone cut me off because I ran out of storage. But basically the quote is like saying, if you start to tell, it says, don't tell anyone anything, because if you do, you'll start missing everyone. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why, that just like really got me at the end. But it's, yeah, it's a good book. It's good. It's good high school read for sure. Like 6 years like post high school, but hey, it's okay. It was good. I think it's a necessary read. Next book, I actually love this book. Does anyone else feel this way? By Eli Rollo, I think is her name. Actually, I'm pretty sure she was a TikToker before she was an author. Very good. It's like a bunch of essays kind of like talking about how to deal with like being mid-20s, trying to figure out your life post-college, where I am right now. And I loved it because I feel like it just really made you feel seen, because the name of the book is Does Anyone Else Feel This Way? And I'm like, oh, yes, I do. A lot of people feel this way. One thing I will say, I didn't agree with everything in it because I feel like there's a lot of like, like I say, I'm a Christian woman, so some of it is like very much like you just have to rely on yourself to like be what you need, which I'm like, I feel like you need to rely on the Lord if you really want true peace. I think it was nice to just feel seen, especially as like a woman who is dealing with this, of like being just overwhelmed by being 23 years old. And like, I think that's a lot of what this book is about. And so I would say I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is like going through post-college blues. The last book of the year that I read is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This book was definitely entertaining, but I just didn't agree with a lot of it. I did like how you could see how she grew, because it's like I liked how there was different chapters. It was like everything I knew about love at 18, everything I knew about love at 21, everything I knew about love at 24, whatever. And each time I feel like she grew a little bit, but I would just feel like I don't agree with a lot of things that she said about love. It was just like, I don't know, just go have fun. And it's like, I don't agree with that sometimes. I'm like, I think that you need to be very wise with who you let in your heart. But I was entertained, so I think I don't know what I gave it on Goodreads, but it was one of those. It was like, it was entertaining, but I would not live by this book for like advice. So these are all the books I read in 2025. Hopefully in 2026 I can read even more, maybe 30 books. Hey, who knows, maybe I'll even write one of my own. Yeah, those are the books. So hope everyone enjoys. I don't even know if this will go onto the internet, and if it does, just know. But have a blessed evening. Love you. God bless.